I lived with her for 2 years. 2 years of my life wasted. For 2 years, I woke up next to her, kissed her forehead, made coffee for us in the mornings, held her when she cried. I thought she was my love, my woman, my future. But one night, everything I thought I knew collapsed. That night changed me forever. It started with something so small, so harmless, that I almost ignored it. Her phone. She never left it lying around. She guarded it like it was some kind of treasure chest. If it buzzed, she'd grab it instantly. If I reached for it by accident, even just to move it off the couch, she'd give me this nervous laugh and say, "Don't touch that." I thought it was just privacy. I trusted her. Why wouldn't I? But that night, she made a mistake. She went to take a shower, and for the first time in 2 years, she forgot her phone on the bed. It buzzed. Once, twice, then 3 times. The screen lit up with a message. At first, I wasn't going to look. But something in my gut, it told me to. And I wish I hadn't. Because once I did, there was no going back. The messages were from someone I didn't know. The name saved was just client number 7. I froze. Client? My chest tightened. The messages read, "Same time tomorrow? Cash ready. Bring that red dress." My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I thought, no, I hoped it was some kind of joke. Maybe she was doing photography, modeling, something, anything else. But then I scrolled further. There were dozens of messages. Different names, all numbers, all clients. And the words, they weren't about photo shoots. They weren't about business. They were about her. Her body. Her time. Her price. My hands started shaking. My vision blurred. I dropped the phone on the bed like it had burned me. I wanted to storm into the bathroom, rip open that door, and scream at her. But I didn't. I sat there, frozen, staring at that phone. The water kept running in the bathroom. I could hear her humming to herself like nothing was wrong. And that's when it hit me. Every smile, every kiss, every "I love you," it could have all been a lie. My stomach turned. I felt like I was going to throw up. I just sat in silence until she came out, towel wrapped around her, smiling. She kissed my cheek and said, "Hey babe, what's wrong? You look pale." I smiled back, pretended nothing was wrong, because inside something broke. That night I didn't sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, replaying our 2 years together in my head. Every date, every trip, every late night talk. Were they real? Or was I just her cover? I remembered the time she said she was working late. The time she went out with the girls. The expensive clothes she said were just on sale. It all made sense now. She wasn't just living a double life. She was living a lie, with me in it. The next day I followed her. I had to know. She left the apartment dressed up more than usual. Not in the way you dress for a normal office job. I stayed a few steps behind, blending into the crowd. She got into a car I didn't recognize. A black SUV. My stomach dropped again. I followed as much as I could, until they stopped at a hotel downtown. She went inside with him. That was it. That was the confirmation I didn't want, but needed. She was selling herself. And I was the fool who loved her. When I got home, I locked myself in the bedroom. I couldn't cry. I couldn't scream. I just sat there numb. 2 years of my life. 2 years of trust, of loyalty, of love. Gone. I realized then, she destroyed me in the worst way possible. Not with violence, not with a knife, but with betrayal. And betrayal cuts deeper than any blade. At first I thought about leaving. Packing my bags, disappearing, letting her rot in her lies. But then another thought crept in. Why should she walk away free while I suffer? No, that wasn't enough. She used her body to make money. She betrayed me with it. So if that's how she destroyed me, then that's exactly how I'd destroy her. That's when the plan began. Silent, careful, step by step. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to hit her. I wasn't even going to argue. I was going to let her keep her secret. Let her think I was blind. And then one day I would take everything from her. Not just her money. Not just her freedom. But her reputation, her life, her very identity. Because revenge is best served cold. The morning after I followed her to the hotel, she came back like nothing happened. She kissed me on the cheek, smiled, and asked if I wanted pancakes. Pancakes. As if she hadn't just sold herself a few hours earlier. I stared at her, and for the first time, I didn't see the woman I loved. I saw a liar. A stranger. Parasite feeding on my life. But I smiled. I said yes to pancakes. And inside, I whispered to myself, keep smiling. Keep pretending. She can't know you know. Not yet. From that moment, every word she spoke, every laugh, every touch, it was all an act. For her and for me. Because I had decided, if she thought she was clever, I would be cleverer. I started small. Every time she left her phone unattended, I checked it. Screenshots, messages, call logs. I created a hidden folder on my laptop, a digital graveyard where every dirty secret of hers was buried. The names of her clients, the locations, the dates, the payments. Piece by piece, her entire double life unfolded in front of me. But I didn't stop there. I checked her closet, her purse, her drawers. Wads of cash hidden inside old shoeboxes. Receipts from hotels. A second SIM card I had never seen before. Every discovery was another stab to my chest. But every stab also fueled me. Because soon, she would feel the same pain. One night, while she was out, I installed a small camera in our bedroom. Another near the door. Cheap, easy to hide. I wasn't looking for sex tapes. I wasn't that pathetic. No, I was watching her. Studying her. When she left, I checked the footage. The nervous pacing. The endless phone calls. The way she changed clothes before leaving. She thought she was careful. She thought I was blind. But the camera doesn't lie. And with every recording, I collected more evidence. The strangest part was how normal life looked on the surface. We still had dinners together. We still watched movies on the couch. She still curled up against me at night, whispering, "I love you," before falling asleep. But to me, her words were poison. I didn't hear love anymore. I heard lies. Still, I played along. I laughed at her jokes. I kissed her forehead. I made her believe everything was perfect. Because revenge needs patience. And patience was something I had learned the hard way. Weeks passed. My folder grew bigger, heavier with every secret. And then came the moment I decided to test my plan. I created an anonymous email. Attached one blurry screenshot of her messages with a client. And sent it, not to the client, not to her, but to one of her closest friends. The subject line was simple: "Do you really know her?" I didn't stick around for the reply. I didn't have to. Because I knew the seed was planted. And once doubt creeps in, it spreads like wildfire. But late at night, when I lay in bed pretending to sleep, my mind tormented me. Part of me still loved her. Part of me still remembered the woman who held my hand when my father died, who made soup when I was sick, who kissed me under the rain. But that woman was gone. Or maybe she never existed. Maybe she was just a mask. And I realized something painful. I wasn't just seeking revenge on her. I was seeking revenge on myself. For being blind. For being weak. For loving someone who never loved me back. The next phase required careful timing. I pretended to plan a small trip with her. Just the two of us, a weekend getaway to the countryside. She lit up, excited, hugging me tight. She had no idea. What I really wanted was isolation. No friends. No clients. No distractions. Just her and me and the truth between us. I rented a cabin. Quiet, secluded, far from the city. She thought it was for romance. But for me, it was the first step of her downfall. The night before the trip, I looked at her sleeping face. Peaceful. Innocent, almost. I wondered how many men had looked at that same face, believing her lies. How many had paid for what I thought was mine alone. And I whispered to myself, tomorrow everything changes. Because tomorrow she wouldn't just be my girlfriend. She would be my prisoner. And her lies would finally belong to me. She was excited. That morning she packed her favorite dresses, her makeup, even a bottle of wine she'd been saving. To her it was a trip of love. To me it was the beginning of her punishment. We drove for hours. She sang along to the radio, laughed at silly billboards, leaned her head on my shoulder when we stopped at a red light. And I smiled. I laughed with her. But inside, my mind was razor sharp. Every turn of the wheel brought us closer to the place where her lies would finally meet their end. The cabin was perfect. Wooden walls, old furniture, a fireplace that crackled when I lit it. Outside, nothing but trees, silence, and the cold wind. She gasped when she saw it. "Oh my God, babe, it's beautiful," she said, running from room to room like a child. I watched her. For a moment, I almost forgot. For a moment, I almost believed this was real, that we were a normal couple escaping the city for a weekend of love. But then I remembered the hotel. The messages. The lies. And my heart turned cold again. That first night, I played the part of the perfect boyfriend. I cooked us dinner, poured the wine, even put on music. We sat by the fireplace, laughing, drinking, kissing. She whispered, "I love you." I whispered it back. But in my head, I heard another voice, "You don't even know what's coming." As the night went on, she fell asleep in my arms on the couch. Her breathing was soft, steady. I stared at her face for hours, searching for the woman I thought I loved. But all I saw was a mask that had fooled me for 2 years. And I promised myself, by the time we leave this cabin, that mask will be gone. The next morning, I woke up early. She was still sleeping. I walked outside, feeling the crisp air hit my lungs. The forest was silent, isolated. Perfect. I checked the locks on the doors, the windows, the cellar beneath the cabin. Every detail mattered. I wasn't just here for a trip. I was building a cage. Later, when she woke up, we sat on the porch drinking coffee. She leaned against me, smiling, her eyes sparkling in the sunlight. And then she said it. Something that nearly made me laugh. "I feel so lucky to have you. You're the only man I can really trust." Trust. The word echoed in my head like a cruel joke. I wanted to shout, to scream, to tell her I knew everything. But instead I just smiled. And whispered, "I trust you too." That night, while she slept again, I sat at the table with my laptop. I opened the folder. Thousands of screenshots. Photos. Videos. Proof. Her entire secret life, laid bare. But this time I wasn't saving it. I was planning how to use it. Anonymous accounts. Hidden networks. A way to spread her truth far and wide. Not just to me. Not just to a few friends. But to the entire world. Because if she had destroyed me in private, I would destroy her in public. The cabin was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence where every thought is louder than the wind outside. She slept peacefully upstairs, dreaming whatever liars dream when they rest. And I sat downstairs, staring into the fire, knowing that part one of my plan was almost complete. I had her where I wanted her. Isolated. Vulnerable. Blind to the storm that was about to hit her life. And as the fire crackled, I whispered to myself, "This is just the beginning." She had no idea. She thought this was just a romantic trip, a little getaway from the city. But every smile she gave me, every laugh, every kiss, only fueled the fire inside my chest. Because I knew the truth. And soon she would know what it feels like when a mask is ripped away. The second day in the cabin started quietly. She brewed coffee, humming softly, wearing my hoodie like she owned me. She kissed me on the cheek, her eyes full of fake innocence. And I looked at her, and almost laughed. She still believed she could live two lives at once. The perfect girlfriend here, the perfect stranger with men in the city. But she had no idea those two worlds were about to collide. Over breakfast, I tested her. I asked questions I already knew the answers to. I mentioned places, times, little details only a liar would trip over. Her smile faltered once. Just once. But I saw it. Her mask was strong, but not unbreakable. That evening, while she sat by the fire scrolling on her phone, I opened my laptop. I made sure she could see the glow of the screen, hear the clicking of the keyboard. She asked, "What are you working on?" I smiled. "Just some writing." But what I was really doing was uploading. Files. Screenshots. Names. Times. Places. Her entire hidden life, being prepared to spread like wildfire. Later that night, I leaned against the doorway and asked her casually, "Do you think people can really hide who they are forever?" She looked up, surprised. "What do you mean?" I stepped closer. "I mean, don't you think the truth always comes out eventually?" Her eyes flickered. Just for a second. But that second was enough. The next morning, I stepped outside with my phone. I made a call. Quiet, short. To a friend. Someone who knew her. Someone who would be very interested to know what she'd been doing behind closed doors. When I came back inside, she asked me who I was talking to. I just smiled and kissed her forehead. Just business. She didn't know it yet, but her business was about to become everyone's business. By the third night, I could see the tension in her body. She didn't laugh as easily. She didn't hum when she cooked. She caught me watching her too often, as if she felt the walls of the cabin closing in. And that's when I realized. The mask she wore so perfectly in the city was starting to slip here in the silence of the woods. She thought she was safe, but the truth was already spreading. Messages had been sent. Screenshots had been shared. Her name was no longer hers to control. And I hadn't even told her yet. Because the most painful part of revenge isn't the strike itself. It's letting them feel it closing in, piece by piece. It started small. A single message. A whisper in the digital void. I sent one photo. Just one. Her face. A name. A hint of the life she thought she'd hidden so well. And like a drop of blood in the ocean, the sharks came. People started asking questions. Friends. Acquaintances. Do you know her? Did you hear what she's been doing? The ripples were spreading. She didn't know yet. She was still smiling, playing the perfect girlfriend, cooking dinner for us. But I saw the cracks. Her phone buzzed more than usual. Her face would tighten for a second when she looked at the screen, then she'd force a smile. I didn't need to see the messages. I already knew what they said. That night she got careless. She went outside to take a call, whispering furiously into her phone. She thought I couldn't hear. But in the silence of the woods, every word carried. No, don't say anything. Just ignore it. It's fake. It's not true. Please. Her voice cracked. And for the first time since I found out, I felt something close to satisfaction. The mask was breaking. I played dumb. Pretended nothing was wrong. I kissed her forehead, held her close, told her I loved her. Every fake reassurance I gave her was another blade twisting deeper. Because while she clung to the illusion of safety, I was already pulling every string behind the curtain. By the fourth day she couldn't hide it anymore. Her hands shook when she poured coffee. Her smile faded halfway through dinner. Finally she snapped. Do you think I've been acting strange lately?" she asked. Her voice was trembling. I tilted my head, pretending to be confused. Strange? No, why? Her eyes searched mine, desperate, terrified. But I gave her nothing. And in that silence, she started to realize. The next morning it happened. The dam broke. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Hundreds of messages. Friends, family, people she hadn't spoken to in years. The truth was out. Her perfect little mask, shattered in front of everyone she knew. She locked herself in the bathroom, sobbing. And I stood outside the door listening. This was the sound of her empire collapsing. When she finally came out, her eyes were red, her face pale. She looked at me like I was her only lifeline. "They're lying," she whispered. "You believe me, right? You know I'd never." I smiled. A calm, steady smile. And I said, "Of course I believe you." But inside, I was laughing. That night she didn't sleep. I watched her from the bed as she paced the cabin, whispering, shaking, trying to come up with excuses, alibis, explanations. Every lie she told herself only made the truth louder. She was trapped in her own maze, with no way out. And I was the one holding the map. On the final morning in the cabin, I handed her a small envelope. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside were the printed screenshots. Every message. Every transaction. Every secret. She looked up at me, her face drained of all color. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. I leaned close, whispering the words that would haunt her forever. "This is just phase 1. Phase 2 has begun." Those were the words I whispered as she stared at the envelope in her trembling hands. Her secrets weren't secrets anymore. Her mask wasn't just cracked, it was shattered. And now, it was time to finish what I started. The cabin had done its job. The silence, the isolation, the first cracks in her perfect image. But true revenge could only bloom in the place she had built her fake kingdom. The city. Where everyone she knew was waiting. Where her mask had fooled them all. Now they would see her for what she really was. On the drive back she barely spoke. Her phone buzzed endlessly in her lap. Every time she glanced at it, her face grew paler. She didn't dare open the messages in front of me. But I didn't need to see them. I knew exactly what they said. Her world was already crumbling, and we hadn't even stepped back into the city lights. The moment we returned, the storm hit. Her best friend came knocking first, screaming, demanding answers. Her neighbors whispered behind curtains. Even strangers in the street stared just a little too long. She tried to deny it all. She tried to smile, laugh, shrug it off. But denial is just fuel for the fire. And I kept feeding that fire every chance I got. Days turned into weeks. And with every passing day she lost someone else. A friend. A colleague. A family member. Until I was all she had left. She clung to me like a lifeline. Begging me to protect her, to believe her, to save her. And I let her. Because the sweetest revenge is when they willingly put the chains on themselves. It was time for the final act. Not just whispers. Not just screenshots. This time, it would be undeniable. I arranged a meeting. Public. Visible. A place where there was no escape. She didn't know it, of course. She thought it was just dinner with friends. One last chance to prove her innocence. But what she didn't realize was that I had already prepared the stage. The restaurant was crowded. Her hands shook as she lifted her glass, trying to keep her composure. And then the screen lit up. A projector. A slideshow. Every message. Every payment. Every lie. Her face froze as the room fell silent. Whispers turned into gasps. Gasps turned into laughter. She was exposed. Completely. She ran. Out into the night, mascara streaking down her cheeks. The world she had built, the mask she had worn, all gone in an instant. And I followed. Not to comfort her. Not to save her. But to watch her fall. As I stood there watching her break down under the streetlights, I realized something. I didn't destroy her. I didn't have to. She had destroyed herself. All I did was let the world see it. And that was the perfect revenge.